Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 3, guest number 2, and today we got Professor Charles Whiting with us.
Hello, it's good to see you.
And before we start, I got a present or a gift for you from us.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. And so I got a list of questions with your where you're teaching. And how long have you been teaching here at Motlow?
Well, I started as an adjunct professor back in 2011. I had been doing quite a bit of that, actually on other campuses across the state, or actually across the mid-state. And then in 2016, I was very fortunate to be hired full-time. And so that's led to my being an associate professor of mass communications here. I'm very excited. I love it here.
So I got a few questions. So what is mass communication for the viewers that might not know what it is?
Mass communications is when you communicate out to lots of people, the masses. And so when you look at that, there are a lot of ways to do that. One of the first ways we look at is, we look at the recording industry, music. We look at movies. We look at television. We look at the internet. Of course, all of us we're so involved with the internet, we couldn't live without it. But then there are other more traditional media, including publications like newspapers. We also have magazines. So we delve into all of those different areas. And we have students who are expert writers, and then there are some students who are very visual, some audio, more audio oriented. And so we're moving in all those different directions here at Motlow State.
How long did it take for you to get your degree, and or how many years did it take to get your degree in college?
Well, I earned an initial 4-year bachelor's degree in journalism because my focus was writing, reporting for newspapers primarily. I did a little bit for magazines as well, but newspapers primarily, and worked for a couple of daily newspapers. But after my first stint as a reporter for the Mobile, Alabama Press Register, I made a decision to go back and earn my master's degree because I knew eventually I would want to teach. Now, it would take a while before I did that, but I wanted to have a master's degree in journalism or in mass communications. And believe it or not, after I went to work for a while in Birmingham, Alabama, my love of music, the fact that I write music, led me to going back to school for a year and earning a bachelor's in music with an emphasis more on business and songwriting.
Perfect. So a few of my questions are, did you ever wanted to change your major or had any other before you got into mass communications?
I did. Initially, when I arrived at the University of Alabama, my goal was to earn a degree in political science. But as time moved forward, I realized that really wasn't the route. I was just so much more into writing and reporting. And because of that, I changed my major after my freshman year. So one of the things I always tell my students is, look, you might think you're majoring in one thing, but then you discover something in college that makes you go, wow, I really want to do this. What happened was during my freshman year, I volunteered as a reporter for the student newspaper and fell in love with it. And so I said, oh gosh, I got to change my major, and I did. And I did minor in political science. I'm glad I did. I'm also minored. I had 2 minors, and I minored in American history, which is another vivid love of mine. Yeah.
That's just good careers. I've researched and I like those type of careers.
Yeah.
What's your favorite topic in mass communications? I know mass communications, like what you mentioned, it's it goes to everything, like TVs and all that. But what's your favorite topic about everything?
That's a hard question for me because I really love it all. But I think that because I write and perform my own songs as a sideline, that I would have to say the recording industry, movies and television. But that is not actually, I didn't get into movies or television or radio in my career so much, but in public relations, I worked a lot helping those who were in those areas of communication. So I would say that I still have a love for reporting, writing, and I always will. I write every day. But I think from the perspective of the arts, I would go in the other direction.
Yeah,
so I feel very fortunate to be able to do both.
And my next questions is gonna be, actually, let's talk about the holiday tradition show that we had a week ago.
Yeah, what we have is we have the Smyrna Entertainment Arts and Media Club. And of course, it's open to all students on the various campuses because we meet on Zoom. And then we have a variety of events, activities that the club will sponsor, sometimes in partnership with the Student Government Association. And so one of the events that we worked on this fall was the annual Motlow Holiday Traditions Show. And the way we work it is, it's not some grand production. It's more of a community event that brings students in to help to put together something that is a celebratory activity for the campus and to use their talents to celebrate different traditions of the holidays. And it went really well. It's very special. We have faculty members who perform as well. I'm one of those. But it's sort of like a partnership between faculty members, students, and then sometimes staff members as well here at Motlow. So it's a community thing. Very nice.
Which I was very fortunate to vlog that day.
Yeah.
And we should be able to post it the first week of January 16th when it comes
Yeah, and it'll be available on a permanent basis, so people can watch clips of what we actually did, and that'll be fun. And so those are things that we're working on here.
So I got 4 questions about the holiday tradition show. So what were your goals from the show? Or
I think the number one goal, I kind of mentioned this before, but I think the main goal is to bring us all together. To bring us together, to celebrate the season, to really have a better understanding of the different traditions of the holidays, because there are different ones, and to give students an outlet to express themselves pretty much any way they would like to in the arts. We had dance, we had obviously music, art. We had visual art, we had caroling, and so those kinds of things, gives each student an opportunity to be creative and to celebrate as well.
What did you hope to accomplish from the show?
I think just to end the semester with a very positive note. And any event that we do, there are a couple things that you look at. One is you want to learn.
Yeah.
So you want to learn how to put on an event. You want to become more confident in who you are. You want to discover what your talents are. And I think those goals, maybe not with one event, but with the different events that we do, I think over time, this really does help students to identify what their talents are, what their purposes might be, what their dreams are. And I think all of this comes together into what we call high impact practices, which is experiential learning, and experiential teaching from a perspective. And for all of us to work together to learn how to put on an event, but all aspects from communication to actually staging it. So our goals were met.
Which I got nervous now since you're mentioning, since it's a learning experience.
Oh yeah.
I also when they told me I'm able to be on the show, kind of show everyone a little bit or a clip of what I do, and then I went up and present a little bit of the podcast, but I realized I didn't present it the way I wanted, or when I was thinking of the way I wanted it to be. Is because I got nervous. As soon as I got on stage, I was nervous. Never been in front of probably 30 students that were
30, 40, yeah.
30, 40
people.
So I've never been up there in front of that many people. I'm only in front of, in my high school, we only had like a classroom of 15, 20, but it was like more than double that, so I got nervous. But now realizing it, I was up there, now I'm like, I wish I could have done more and, spend more time on it. but now at the same time, I'm like, it's a good experience. I feel, how can I try and think of the words? I feel grateful, I guess you can say, because I was up there, experienced it, and now this might be a good experience for me for the future if I want to be, you know, for example, a YouTuber, or if I want to be, you know, put up shows or anything like that.
Yeah, and
for me.
We do a variety of things. We'll have another show in the spring. We have our talent show in April to kind of close out our spring semester. And then we'll have another holiday show hopefully next November. And so we do provide those opportunities, so you will definitely be up in front of people again.
Now I gotta start practicing a little bit. You know, I try to not get too nervous up there.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I'm ready for the next one. Just not thinking about it now.
Yeah, sure.
So how many students did you hope to have in the event? Like at the beginning when you're planning, how many?
Typically, when we have an event like that, we usually need about 12 performers.
Yeah.
And so it's great to have at least maybe 8 students. Now we didn't have that this time, but we easily filled an hour. The SEAM Club goes through transitions. We just had just about every I guess all of the officers pretty much graduated last semester. And so we had to restart the club. And we do this about every 2 years. And so we had probably several students who've gotten active, and so they were all participants in the show. And then we had several faculty members, and we easily filled it up. But typically we like to have at least, I'd say, half a dozen or even a few more students who can take the stage. And so in the spring, typically the talent show in the spring, it's a little easier to draw that interest for students. They have a lot more lead time. So that's something we definitely will work on for next year.
So what are this will be the last question for, you know, the holiday tradition show questions.
Okay.
Maybe the viewers might have some questions, but we should be able to post this by January 16th, which is starting the week of the next semester. So at that time I will be, you know, making another video or interview another professor at that time. So what are your plans for the next year's event or the next semester's event?
I think for next semester, there are going to be different things that we want to do with SEAM Club and then with MassCom in general. Of course, it'll culminate with our annual talent show in April, which gives students an opportunity to share their dreams, share their talents, however they would like to do that. And typically we have a broad range of talents, including dance, piano players potentially. We have visual art. We also have songwriters who'll take the stage, singers will, storytellers, poets. It's pretty wide open. So we'll be working on that next semester. But before that, SEAM Club and MassCom will more than likely put together some type of field trip. And we're thinking about going downtown Nashville to the Frisk Art Museum. That's always insightful and enjoyable. So that's possibly, we'll do that. We typically do that with lunch. So we walk around downtown just a little bit close by, and we find a nice restaurant. We try to set that up ahead of time. And then also there's a possibility that we'll host, but I know that we're going to host some famous communicators next spring. So they will more than likely speak to a class but be open to everyone else. I know that we have the speech contest, which Professor Davenport talks about in a different interview. But that's very exciting, and that'll be something that MassCom and SEAM Club will be involved with.
How is he doing with that? Was he able to?
We're really gonna begin working on that in earnest in January when students are back. Okay. And we'll pull this together fairly quickly, and it's going to be very exciting. You know, it'll potentially involve students on all 4 campuses, and I think that this is a wonderful project that Professor Davenport heads up. We're glad to help.
So now we're going back to the questions for the interview we had today.
Yeah,
And
sure.
this is kind of like the questions like what you do outside of school and like
Okay.
your own personal, I don't want to say life, but kind of.
Sure. Yeah.
In the holiday tradition show, I got shocked the way, how wonderful your music was.
Oh, thank you
and
so
how
much.
You singed and everything. How did you learn to sing like that?
In my family, at a very early age, we had a grandma, who wrote songs and played, and then I had a mother who played Broadway tunes on the piano, and we would, all the family would gather around her and sing. Then a father, who was a songwriter, primarily wrote country music, and he had his own little record label down in Mobile, Alabama. So as I was growing up, there was music all around me. But like the writing families, I was just drawn to the piano, and I was drawn to the guitar as well. And I started writing instrumentals, believe it or not, right after I learned chopsticks, around 5-6 years old. And I have never stopped writing since. My first focus was instrumentals. I didn't take a lot of piano, so I learned how to write write by ear. They call it writing by ear. But over time, and then of course, I loved pop music, jazz and all that. So I began to write songs, traditional songs with words, vocals. And so I have a mix of those, and I continue to do that. I continue to record, and sometimes I will hire a wonderful singer to sing some of my songs as well, and send those out. So in a way, I'm following in both my mom and my dad's and my grandma's footsteps, and I have a brother who is essentially doing the same thing.
God reached in his pocket long ago to hang the stars out in a row, but the littlest star was left within.
And that's the questions I had also earlier, but you summed it up, because I was gonna ask you what is your favorite songs, or like pop, rock, jazz, but
Well, actually, I will answer that question because I love everything. And I know that sounds like, what? You can't love everything. Well, I always tell my students, I love all genres of music. But the genres of music I'm struggling with the most, and I always say this, I'm open to being better, would probably be rap and hip hop, only because that's not for my generation. I love percussion, but I'm very, very melodic. And so because of that, I love the classic rock sounds, like the Beatles and, Led Zeppelin, and, all through the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. And I love the singer-songwriters, like Joni Mitchell and Carole King and Paul Simon and James Taylor, all the great writers and performers, distinctive sounds. And so that side of music had a huge impact on me. But then I grew up around the piano with my mom, doing Broadway stuff. So I'm into Streisand, and I'm into all these other artists who perform these amazing Broadway tunes, and then right in between jazz and blues. I just love jazz and blues and rhythm and blues. And one of my favorite artists continues to be Stevie Wonder. He's on the pop end, but he's in rhythm and blues, and so I just love that. I just love that. He's a songwriter too, so I have so much respect for him.
Is he the artist that plays on piano too?
Yes.
I never listened to one on piano. And
He has a visual impairment. And he plays on piano. It's kind of like Ray Charles, except much different, of course.
Oh, I think I know which one.
Ray Charles is amazing. But I love all that kind of music. Gladys Knight, all the ones who came up through R&B. It's just great music. So the answer to the question is when it comes to music, I'm a mess because I love it all, just about all, and I get my students to work with me on hip hop, a little bit more.
Yeah. I remember you mentioning the other day when we talked about last Wednesday that you say you had your own side businesses.
Yes, I worked as a newspaper reporter and then went into public relations, and I eventually had a job. I guess I was a PR representative at an Opryland USA, and most of my work was at the Opryland Hotel. So I worked a lot with different I guess news stations that came in, radio stations. Set up a lot of interviews with the big stars. I worked with WSM Radio. At that time, we had TNN, the Nashville network, so I worked a lot with them. Then I spent some time at the Grand Ole Opry, General Jackson's Showboat. So we were very active. We had a lot going on. The Opryland theme park was open at that time. So I gained a lot of experience. I was there for about, 7.5 years. But when I left there, they went through a lot of changes, and I left there. I had an option to go with a PR agency that was connected with Opryland, or to partner with someone and start my own business on Music Row. And I decided to take a risk, and I started my own business on Music Row, and that business preceded my teaching.
Yeah.
Pretty much my business focused initially on hotels, but also mostly independent artists, because I believe in helping dreams come true. So I worked a lot with artists, very talented artists of all kinds, and different projects and different events. And all of that has come into my teaching because I have experience in how to do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And of course, learning the new technology today. But as we move forward, it's important to have as much experience in communication as you can. So all that has kind of lent itself to what I do as a teacher.
That's why I'm trying to figure out myself, because right now I'm studying mechatronics engineering.
Yeah.
And I like videos, so I'm still trying to figure it out myself. Because I like to do both. Like a multi-learner. I like to do everything at once.
It may take a little longer, but what you might want to consider is getting a double major.
Yeah.
If you have a love for both, that's why I went back and got a music degree, because that's half of me. It's part of what I do.
Yeah.
That two aspects of my life and career. And so it could be that you're going to want to have, a degree in both. You have to make a decision.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think, because I don't want to spend too much of my life in school, because I want to be out there in the field, but I also want to do both. So I'm still trying to figure out.
Because you could be out in the field in mechatronics, but then you could be maybe sidelining in video, and you could be taking courses along the way if you needed to. And
that's what I do.
Yeah, you could look at it that way. But you're gaining a lot of experience here.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing.
Because, I'm trying to I would like to be a full-time YouTuber.
Yeah.
And then be a robotics engineer, which I'm trying to do everything and trying to learn as much as I can here before going to university.
Right.
And right now, everything I'm studying, I like, and I'm liking more. Mechatronics is very difficult because it's a lot to process, but I'm getting there. And that's what I'm trying to figure out right now myself. And then right now I'm writing a book. I think I finished writing it, and now I'm trying to publish it also. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that too.
Yeah.
So I'm like multitasking with everything. And
sure. Yeah, I understand about the writing aspects of things, because I'm writing and posting things on Instagram just about every day. Kind of like, I call it Chuck's diary. It's my adventure, or my life, or just the journey. And that may eventually develop into a book. And I've thought about a couple of other book ideas as well. But when you're teaching, that's about as much writing as I can do right now. outside of what we're doing with the Motlow Buzz and some other things, the podcast, etc. But eventually, we'll look into that.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how I can publish mine, because found some resources, but I don't know if they're reliable. I mean, I know the school now they have a class for writing, so I'm thinking maybe I could do that as an extra class.
Oh, I would.
Sure. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, if you're moving in that direction, that would be great. And we have some wonderful professors here, wonderful writers that are here, and they're so insightful, and they've studied all the masters of writing and literature, and of course we have the journalistic side that pretty much weaves its way into all the different media. So we have plenty to offer, either you or other students who are here.
So I might just have to take my time and think about it next semester and all that.
Yeah. Definitely.
So back to here, before I get, talk about more about me. Do you, what are your goals with, your side jobs, if you're still...
I'll continue writing music, recording music, releasing music as a sideline. I want to stay very active with that. I'll continue my writing as I have been. I'm building my social media platforms, have been doing that for the past 2 or 3 years. And I'm going to be looking ahead to developing podcast or Vid-cast as well, just like you're doing. Because I think that's an important part of this overall picture for me. But I think in general, if doing as much as I can outside of the classroom where I can gain insights, experience that I can share with my students. I think that that's very, very important. I think that if I just come in and if I were just a lecturer or something like that, I don't think that I would have as much of an impact as if I'm out there doing stuff, learning how to do things, learning about new applications, the process, the digital revolution. I think that's critical to being a successful educator these days. And so I'm very thankful that I do have other interests, other activities outside of the classroom that I actually can bring in.
I might be interested in looking at some of those your side jobs and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the goals that I have, and I've already done this, but I've done this for a late writer. I have a catalog of songs of a late writer named Marcia Jones. And unfortunately, she passed away from lupus when she was only 45 years old. But her husband asked me if I would handle her song catalog, which I've done. And we were very fortunate to get one of her songs into a Hallmark Hall of Fame movie starring James Seymour. And the title of the movie is Lake Effects. And so I learned a lot about how to actually work, collaborate with filmmakers, music supervisors, individuals who select the music and the contractual aspects and all that. And so now, with my instrumental music recordings, along with some vocal things that I've been doing, I'm thinking, well, now I know what's involved in getting music into movies. So, knock on doors. And the next time I land a song or instrumental in a movie, which I do expect to happen, we're supposed to say we expect it to happen. We're supposed to say it will happen. Whatever we do, if we do that, it will come true. I believe it. Maybe we have to say it. So when that happens, you can interview me again, and I'll tell you all about it.
We'll save for another video.
Right. Yeah.
Because his music are in the videos for the podcast. Is the introduction and then the outro of each video, which those are a few different ones that I've chosen so far, which I've enjoyed each music.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna add another one to this video too.
Thank you.
I'm gonna choose a different one.
Okay, excellent.
I enjoy each one I've listened so far.
Thank you.
And how long have you been playing music?
Well, I actually probably started when I was 3 or 4 years old. And, I kind of mentioned that I think I started writing right around when I was 5 or 6, but I just never have stopped. I've continued, and there have been times when I have had more time to write and to play, over during my lifetime. But something that is part of me, just like the writing is. So it's not going to end.
It's a passion.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you like to do.
Well, it's not only a passion. It's sort of like, I remember there was a hit songwriter who said something to the effect that you have to keep writing until you're at least 99 years old, if you live that long. And that makes sense. Yeah, I'll probably, if I'm around, definitely will be.
I think I had a few more questions.
Okay.
So, your musical instruments, I've had some in the videos and I've enjoyed them. How long have you been writing musical instruments or like songs?
I think the first really true instrumental that I remember writing was, and unfortunately I did not record it, so I have forgotten it.
Yeah.
But it was the very first one. It was called The Bells. For 2 years, I guess it was seventh. I was writing songs when I was in the 6th grade, a lot, but mostly instrumentals. I was writing a lot, maybe the 5th, 6th grade. And I remember playing those, but they really didn't have titles to them. But when I got into the 7th grade, I wrote an instrumental called The Bells, and I remember I played it for my piano teacher. I took piano for 2 years. And I remember her name was Miss Middleton in Mobile, Alabama. And she told me, she said, you have potential, she said. And when a teacher tells you that, man, it's like, oh boy. But then I came to Nashville, and they tear you to shreds. They are brutal. Some of the critiquers are absolutely brutal. But one of the things that you have to realize, you have a purpose, and not everybody's going to get you.
Yeah.
So don't quit. And so I can't. So pretty much that's when I began seriously, I guess maybe 7th, 8th grade, really seriously writing songs with titles. And that has continued since. And I've entered some competitions, and I won a competition in the American Songwriting Contest. There was another one called the Music City Song Competition. I won one from TNN, the Nashville Network. So I've always gotten encouragement on the competitions. But the best I've been able to do, as far as the charts go, I have a song called The Littlest Star. It's a holiday song that features a singer by the name of Margot Smith. She actually has had quite a bit of success in country music. But that song made it up, I think, to number 64 on a couple charts, which, it's the top 100. But it's not a hit, It's sort of like, I can't say I've had a top 40 hit yet, but the joy of doing, and learning, you can't, you have to just keep going. Yeah, just keep going.
I'm still trying to think of, there's multiple things I want to do in a short period of time, but I think I'm just gonna start thinking probably after this interview or throughout my school here. I'm gonna start thinking of choosing different classes maybe. Mm-hmm. And see which one I want, because honestly I like multiple things. Yeah. There's advantages to it and disadvantages to it, so I just gotta choose. I'm still sticking with mechatronics because I like it. Mm-hmm. I like to the challenge. And
you can see what electives you can take. They may give you a little bit of latitude on that. Okay. And you can look into doing some other things, and you can always continue taking courses after you graduate.
Okay, that's what I might do.
That's what some students do. Some students say, hey, I didn't take this, so I'm going to take this to try to improve in a particular area I have an interest in. Yeah. So you definitely can always keep going. And you have your university side. Eventually you'll transfer over to that. So a lot of possibilities for you. And other students too, because this is an interview for
everyone.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Because I know probably some more viewers out there that are probably wanting to study the field I'm getting into, or others, and they're still debating what they want to do. So you're not alone. I'm in here too. I'm in your footsteps also. So I'm still trying to decide what I want to do also. Which that's what I'm trying to say. Advantages and disadvantages of everything. If you like multiple things, probably just do them all. That's what I'm gonna do. Probably just take classes and see if I enjoy it, and if I do enjoy it, then I'll just stick with it too. Like what you said, don't major maybe. I might do
Sure. Yeah, but you got time to decide.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell my students. Is that you got some time. You can figure things out.
Yeah. I think that's the end of my questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me to answer some questions for you today on your podcast.
Thank you for coming.
And congratulations on your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
I call it a podcast. It's actually a Vid-cast.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
the same thing a little bit to
or
me.
vlog or
Yeah.
whatever, So, it takes a lot to put something like this together. We have to say that we're working in the direction of improving our facilities. So this is kind of like, at this stage, we're just getting started. So what we always do is we try to encourage our listeners or viewers to be patient with us as we continue to move forward, as we continue to learn, as we boost our equipment, our backdrops, things like that we're going to be doing here in the coming months. But we are starting, we are beginning, and beginnings are great, and we're going to watch progress occur. And so you're helping usher this in by having this this vlog you're doing. It's very exciting, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I haven't been consistent this year to upload each video, but my goal for next semester, when we start school again, the week of January 16th, I'm gonna upload the vlog that I couldn't finish this semester. Upload the holiday tradition vlog, and then be consistent every Wednesday. I start, having new guests, and then upload whenever I'm able to finish editing.
Yeah. And so we'll be of course uploading other podcasts. I'm going to be developing a podcast myself. It may not be a video cast. It may be more with still photography. We'll see. See how we work that out. But different students, as time moves forward, they will also have their own either podcast or their Vid-cast, and just exciting days ahead. And so ideas are welcome, right?
Yeah. I'm always open to ideas. Whether you guys wanna just leave in the comments, and I'll more than likely I'll be reading almost every 2 days, 3 days to make sure there's any comments. So I'll be reading all of those.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you, Professor Charles Whiting, for being my guest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Delighted to be here.
Yes, sir. So that's my idea for next semester, and I'll see us in January, the week of January 16th.
Happy 2024.
Oh yeah, I might. I think I'm gonna do a video like celebration for next semester also, and also for the new year and all that. So that's gonna be my next project, coming back to school.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you guys, and I'll see us next year.